Hello, everybody. I don't know why I said it like that. Just kidding. I know exactly why. Oh, God. I hear myself twice. Ah, God. No. Classic live streamer problem. Wait, third time? Oh, God. Can you tell? I'm a little bit behind. This stream was a little impromptu, but I think I figured it out. My microphone is unmuted. There's music playing. I don't know if it's loud enough. This live streaming thing's gotta be way improved. But that'll be in the future. Oh God, how many things I'm looking at. I feel like I need 7 monitors just to be able to keep track of everything. I guess since I'm not sharing this, it'll be fine. Yeah, I'm still just like moving everything around, guys. Give me a sec. This music, I don't love it. Let's skip. All right, yeah. I'm feeling this a little bit more. Okay. Hey, everybody. Oh, I forgot to put the text. You know what? Hold on. Let me just do one thing. I'm doing everything like last. Here, let me there. Let me move myself up a little bit. I normally have some text up there going like, join the discussion on our Discord. But, I don't know. I just didn't have the time to do it. I thought I would, but I didn't. But you know what? You don't have time for everything, so let me explain. We're going to do a Discord stage where you can actually join the discussion. Let me take my gum out of my mouth. Sorry. I forgot it was still in my mouth. Can you tell? Everything is just like last minute here. Okay. So we're going to do a Discord stage. We're going to talk about this drama that's going on with Sonic's forgiveness in IDW Sonic. I know this is a deeply interwoven emotional issue since there's a previous series of comics. And people are attached to that series, and so naturally there's going to be comparisons made. So let's just try our very best to focus on Sonic's character, okay? Because that's something that should be consistent between most properties. So if we focus on that, that should be our common ground. Whether or not you like the whole narrative is a different subject, okay? This is gonna be our structure that avoids us going way off the rails and talking about stuff that's not even important. Okay, those are the rules. Hale's channel said so. Okay, and that's basically it. Let me just test if I can actually do this. Hey, okay, so I have the comic book here. Can actually look at it together. I personally love this comic book. I'm thinking I might do some art today. It really depends on how I'm feeling the stream is going. Might do a drawing if I feel so inspired based on the way that the conversation goes. But man, Surge's design is incredible. You can already tell I'm revealing my cards, my hand, if you will. I really like IDW Sonic. Adam Bryce Thomas does wonderful with the art. Still, I think overall, Sonic comic book artists can improve with their paneling flow, but that's not necessarily something that I can do any better than what I'm seeing here. I just think with Sonic in particular and the way that they're like, look at how these these characters are moving across the page, right? And they have to fly all over the place, and it's so heavily focused on motion. I think they can be a little bit more playful with their paneling, because look how like how boxy everything is. You know what I mean? Like, I wish there was as much play going on with the paneling as there is with the art, because the art is phenomenal. I just want them to play with the paneling a little bit more. And I feel like if they did, we'd be able to follow the action way better and appreciate the art as a whole. So let's get into a stage, all right? Let's jump into the pit. Here we go. I don't even know how to do this. Is it this? This one? Start event. Oh god. Oh god, there's people already here. I'm gonna let Daki in. Invite to speak. There we go. It's been a while since I did one of these. I think I'm gonna regret everything. Hey, Daki! What's up?
I think you'll be fine, man. I think you'll be okay.
You don't think I'm gonna regret everything?
I mean, well, it depends on how heated people come, right? It depends on how heated people get about this.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, so I was originally gonna put text up there, so let me just make the comic a little bit bigger here. Give me a second. Yeah, we gotta fill that frame. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, this stream was a little bit last minute, but that's okay. I really wanted to talk about this because like I have something interesting to say about it that I think will be helpful, but obviously some people will not feel that way. So we'll see how the reaction is. But let's go over how you think though, Daki. What do you think of this comic? Did you like issue 50?
Yeah, I really enjoyed issue 50 actually. I want to give just a little bit of background though. Please don't just kill me for this, but I kind of stopped following IDW Sonic after the metal virus because I thought everything kind of turned into, you know, a little bit of maybe like filler, blah blah blah. But I caught up, right? I caught up. I went through the arc of Bell and everything. I thought all of that was kind of right? Not peak, but it was fine. It was fine enough, I guess. So basically, I mean, issue 50 was what I was looking for throughout all of these arcs after the metal virus, and it was given to me, right? So I was very happy with that. Just the entire issue as a whole was very, very fun because it's just the stakes are high. There's fights. There's you know, some drama, not because of what happened in the community, but inside the comic. So I enjoyed it a lot, man. I thought it was very fun.
I agree. Mostly with everything you said, except for like it has fights, right? It's got fantastic art. I was talking about the paneling. I wish that, like in general, with their comics, I wish the paneling was more playful. But either way, this is about what I expected. I will say I wasn't incredibly fond of how the fight between Surge and Sonic ended. Let me just get to that point. So basically, it just feels kind of like I don't know what the word is for it. Like they didn't have a way to end this fight yet, and they're just kind of they're delaying it. It's like a to be continued kind of fight, and it feels a little bit like a tease. I really wish we got something that felt a little bit more conclusive. Like if it was, since Surge was so focused on taking Sonic down, she lost, and it was really clear that that was what was limiting her abilities, and we saw it through the fight in subtle ways, like causing her to miss certain things. Like for example, like if she wasn't paying attention to her surroundings because she's so focused on like hitting Sonic with her electricity, right? Sonic would very easily be able to use the environment against Surge. So I was hoping I would see something a little bit more than that. That kind of does happen here, right? Where Surge isn't paying attention, and so Surge falls. But it feels kind of random. I wish there was some sort of setup where it maybe happened in smaller ways, and maybe it would feel more rewarding when somebody with a keen eye notices the subtle things, and then it happens. It would make it feel more like, oh, Surge has somewhere to go, and so I'm excited to see where Surge will go. Now it's just kind of like Surge made a mistake. The writers didn't want to make the fight end yet, so Surge is in a black pit of death, and Sonic, it's a black pit of death because Sonic has to stop saving her. Like, his character can't save her yet, so it's just this random orb of death that Sonic wouldn't dare try to save. So that was really, it's like the reason I'm having this discussion is because I'm surprised people are upset with Sonic's character and they're focusing on him being like, forgiveness, when that's like what he's always done in a lot of things. This is the part that I feel like people should be like, what? Like, the payoff kind of sucked, honestly. Between the clash, like, the overall comic was really awesome. Like, going through it and seeing a battle of two Robotnik mechs going at it, Starline and Robotnik fighting while Surge and Sonic are fighting, while Tails and Kit are fighting. Like, that's really cool. And the whole, like, the setup, I guess this setup is what led us to this. So this is definitely us appreciating and seeing the payoff of all the hard work after all these issues. And if you've been following along like I have all this time, it feels really great, except for the big one, which is Surge and Sonic. So the thing is, this is one of those things that could be better when we see the whole story. However, it does leave a bad taste in my mouth, considering this is supposed to be the big issue 50, and it's clear they put a lot of resources into this issue. A lot of their best artists, I believe. They typically give the main issues to Adam Bryce Thomas, like the conclusion of the Metal Virus saga was Adam Bryce Thomas as well, with Super Silver and Super Sonic absolutely destroying Giant Zavok, or Zavok. So yeah, I just wish there was something like that going on here. But that's a tiny little nitpick. Hopefully Surge does end up learning that, you know, not focusing so heavily on Sonic is what ended up leading to her demise in this fight.
Yeah. I was gonna say, definitely agree with everything you said. Isn't it kind of funny though how, well, Sonic obviously being the center of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, I'd say, and I don't think I would even argue this, I would just straight up say, I think Starline and Eggman got like a better conclusion and a more satisfying ending, especially to Starline's arc, than Sonic did.
You mean when he smacks him into the ground and like owns him?
yeah, basically. But as a whole ending, I mean, you know, Starline is supposedly, as far as we know, gone after this, right?
He's dead, right?
Yes, he's supposedly dead.
Yeah.
He supposedly died because of this, which is kind of crazy to me to think about that, you know, after all these years of, you know, Sonic being a lot more, you know, chill with the stuff, the story is not going much into graphic stuff. This man got knocked in the head and he died. He died, like, basically knocked in the head on the ground from his idol, right? He got just one-upped from his idol, and his idol just comes through and smacks him on the ground. And he just, as far as we know, dies having a breakdown. Like, that's kind of insane. That goes places. Don't you think?
That goes hard.
That goes hard. That's a conclusion.
So stuff like collapses on top of Starline, right here. The rubble just like falls on top of him while he's having a mental breakdown. He could come back, but yeah, he is dead as of now, apparently. I think he should. I'm on the side of he should stay dead, not because I don't like him, but just because
I just think this is a perfect ending.
There has to be somebody dying.
Yes.
I feel like for there to be drama, especially in a series like this, there needs to be some sort of consequence. I guess, but not every story needs death to be good. So I'm sitting there going like, I think that's just what I want. That's, of course, me being a fan that was introduced into the series where there was death. Of course, that's what I want. So I think I'll just chalk that up as subjective. It's not necessarily a requirement. He could come back, and you know what? I don't really think it'll ruin it a little bit for me, but like whatever. I don't think it'll be a big deal.
Yeah, the thing is, it's left ambiguous on purpose, right? Because I think they already like publicly stated that if there's enough of an uproar, right, that we want Starline back. He's my favorite character, and everyone wants him back. It's kind of ambiguous, so they can afford to do that if the time comes. But to me, this is just a perfect closure for the character. Like, I'd be kind of happy if he's back because I like Starline. but I don't think they could top this ending for him if he ever comes back. Like, I don't see him going another way than this. This is just
Yeah,
perfection.
what else would he do, right? Because his whole his whole shtick was that he was an Eggman fanboy,
yeah.
and then he
Basically.
finally gets his bout with him. Thought he had, you know, he was 3 steps ahead, and then he ended up being behind and lost. Bad.
Yeah, very bad. It went places again.
Though we haven't seen where Surge's story goes, so and that inevitably has to include Starline in some way. So maybe Starline isn't gone, just for the purposes of Surge's story, because he knows stuff. He knows where Surge comes from. He's the only one who knows things about Surge, and it's clear that that's very important to Surge, as we see.
Maybe this could be done in a way of, you know, since he's a scientist, a doctor, or whatever, you know, he has notes in his lab, something like that, without necessarily needing the character back. I think that would be one way to do it. But yeah, maybe, I don't know. I'm just on the fence because I don't want him back just because I think this is perfect. But if it were to happen, yes, at least, like, I guess use him for Surge purposes. But again, I think it can be done without him being there physically, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. I just think that's the only way that Surge would get that kind of resolution, to know where they came from and learn more about Surge. Maybe that's not where they're going with the character of Surge. Maybe Surge is just not going to care about their backstory. But the considering how often it's been brought up, I feel like it would be weird if they didn't do more with it. So I wouldn't hold my breath on the whole Starline being gone. I think that's left intentionally ambiguous for the purposes of big reveals in the future.
Yeah,
so
I would agree. Yes.
I'm trying to change the playlist on this because I hate how much the background music sounds like one of those like tutorials, like those generic like Facebook video tutorials.
Yeah.
I don't know how to use this thing. Hey, look. Website's UI is driving me crazy. Wow. No! Where are my playlists? Why are my playlists so hard to find?
Oh god, we got the dog.
I might just have to pick one. Know how to get there. Gaming. Maybe that's what we want. Live streaming, that's what we're doing. Okay, this isn't much better, but we'll take it. All right. So, I wanted to get some people on here, maybe some people that we haven't heard from before, talking about what they think of issue number 50 for IDW Sonic. I might have to adjust the exposure on my camera because the time of day right now is like super bright.
You got God rays going on. I just noticed. Wow.
I'm gonna get a race. This is it. See what I can do. Oh, okay. Okay, if I adjust the exposure like this, and then I apply it, but then I turn up the light.
Oh no, you're gone now. Shadow Realm.
Wait, I think I got it.
Nah, yeah, now you're fine.
There we go. Lighting. Oh, and then when I get too far back, I'm like gone. Maybe I need live streaming. Okay, we got it. Okay,
nice.
So let's do it the way we always do. Raise your hand, like click it on and off if you're interested in coming in to talk about your thoughts on issue number 50 and specifically Sonic's character. Oh god, we have Toru in here already. Hey, Toru.
Hell yeah, Toru.
Yeah, I tried raising my hand and then I accidentally pressed the become speaker button.
That's all good. It's all good. Okay, so we're gonna get somebody in here, like a guest or maybe a viewer, just to chat about what they're thinking. But until then, why don't we have Toru share what they think of the issue? What do you think?
Oh, okay. I liked it. I give it like a 9 or 8 out of 10. I do agree about the Starline end thing. I do have an idea of how they could bring him back in a good way. Like, my stance is that, like, if they were gonna bring him back, it would have to be, like, a very long while later. Like, maybe, like, issue 70 or 80. Like, so time has passed. And if he comes back, it should be very, like, after Eggman utterly destroyed me into beyond recognition, I now am going to get my revenge against Eggman. And, like, he comes up with, like, this really, really complicated master plan.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, it shouldn't just be like nothing happened. Like, it has to feel worth the wait. And I definitely think Starline should go away for some time so that his loss has an impact on the characters and the story. Because if he just comes back like nothing happened, it's like no consequences. Like, oh, just brushes dirt off his shoulder. Like,
2 issues later. Hey guys, I'm back. Hopefully I didn't miss anything.
Wow, that kind of sucked. Like,
yeah. Also, yeah, the Surge fight. I definitely agree. They didn't want to end it. They clearly want to use Surge a lot more, but they want her to come back in a meaningful way. I've seen people discuss that because the issues basically synopsis is leading up to it say Surge is looking for more power. She says, all right, that didn't work. I need more power to defeat Sonic. So, two things I've seen people say is A, she uses the Chaos Emeralds she basically uses the Chaos Emeralds and goes Super Surge. Like, hunts for those. Or B, from the cover, people are saying Dark Surge.
What? Dark Surge? Oh, are you talking about that silhouette?
Yeah, that silhouette. I saw some people say that that's Dark Surge.
I'm not so sure.
Again, it's more just like a wild out there theory because it could just be a silhouette to make the character more intimidating. But I did see some people going, yo, Dark Surge!
Yeah, I don't know about that one, but I will say about that, I'm pretty sure I think getting more power for Surge is probably hinting towards the Chaos Emeralds.
Yeah, that was my thought. I definitely think they're gonna go back. I don't know if it's gonna happen because Sega's very picky about who can go super and who cannot. That's the only caveat to the theory. That Sega could be like, no, Surge can't go super. Just impossible.
But I wouldn't be so sure because, I mean, the way that they're setting up Surge, it's kind of like Starline's Metal Sonic, right? And Metal Sonic has gone super many times, and this is a new character, so we really have no idea what the established rules are for Surge.
Yeah.
And I just have a feeling that Surge will turn super just for the sake of doing a purple Surge, like just like Scourge was.
Yeah, just going for the Scourge comparisons.
Yep. I think they will do it. I'm pretty sure they will do it, and I think it'll be cool.
Let me just give some knowledge here. Like, Ian's Bumblecast. I'm sure everyone's aware of this. Ian Flynn's podcast. They did ask them, right, about like if you ever do a Super Surge, how would you go about it? And people suggested, obviously, purple because of Scourge. But Ian did say that he's not so sure if they even would make Surge Super. That's number one. And number two, if they would go with purple because they think it's already done, right? Scourge has already done this, and it wouldn't be as unique anymore. So they were messing around with different designs if the case was to make Surge Super, which I don't think even them know at this point. I don't think, I could be wrong.
That's interesting because like they're like, we want to do something different. Well, it's like, yeah, but it can still be inspired by the Scourge transformation and look like different. Like they're probably just saying we don't want to straight do purple Surge, which is totally true. They shouldn't. However, I'm pretty sure that there will be a Super Surge at some point, and when it does, like when it is revealed, I have a feeling it's gonna look like really cool, and it's not gonna look yellow. Like it's gonna look like a different color. It's gonna contrast green, and it's gonna be sick, and I can't wait.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna now share my thoughts on the big topic in the room.
Yes. Wait, Sonic's character?
Sonic's character.
Finally. Let's do it.
All right.
I'm showing the speech on screen right now.
Yeah, so this drawn a lot of controversy. First, I want to say that I don't really blame anyone if they say that's not my Sonic or that is my Sonic, because at the end of the day, Sonic has been around for 30 years, and there's been so many different interpretations that everyone has a different idea of what Sonic is. That being said, I understand what they're trying to go for. I do think Sonic shouldn't kill, unless absolutely necessary. For example, he would kill Black Doom. He would kill the gods like Solaris and everyone else.
Yeah, I think
pretty much he would not kill unless there is no other way getting out of this situation unless I kill him.
Yeah, of course. But I feel like that's what most people would say. I think what happened was, I think there's a legitimate criticism of Sonic's character buried beneath all of this stuff.
Yeah,
and I think what happened was one person in the group of people that was criticizing Sonic's character focused on Sonic's forgiveness.
Yeah.
And it just made the whole thing sound so silly.
Yeah. I understand the argument and I kind of agree with it. Mr. Tinker made sense. It made sense. Hey, he's a different person. He has no collection of the past. It makes no sense to prosecute him for something someone else did. That's understandable. That is a fair argument Sonic made to Shadow, and Shadow agreed with him. Where it gets kind of tough is Metal Virus, and there's two things. I like how some of the characters, after, in the Metal Virus arc, Shadow, I don't want, it was kind of a meme, but, SBO brought up a good point. He was stressed, his pretty much found family was dead in his eyes, and he was like, I don't understand, I made the wrong choice. You made the wrong choice. I'm very upset with you. That was a good scene. And I do agree that after Sonic returned from the Metal Virus, he just kind of lets Eggman go. I could understand some characters being we have to stop him.
So here's the thing. Do we not notice that this story is clearly trying to promote that discussion?
Yeah, that's another thing. If they don't address it, that I would complain more, because right now they are addressing it. They are setting up the discussion. They are having characters go to Sonic and say, hey, I don't agree with your morals. Of course Surge is the antagonist, so she's gonna disagree. Shadow kind of does his own thing, but characters like SBO, I can totally see some characters in the future, if Surge just starts beating up people close to them and stuff, be you made the wrong choice. I'm very I could see more of those infightings. Let's say Surge comes out and is pounds Tangle into next week, and I could totally see Whisper being bro, you made the wrong choice, I'm angry at you.
Oh, what, towards Surge? And then
no,
just
Sonic.
Yeah, should be angry at Sonic, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And that's gonna keep happening. But the thing is, that happens to every hero character, because the idea is that being a hero is really difficult. And that's every hero story does this. There's a lot of responsibility, and the reason that the stories are interesting is because a hero tries to find the good in people, and then there's always going to be somebody who either takes advantage of that And then oh, look at the story's moving. Like, this person is
the
bad.
plot's
And then,
moving, guys.
yeah,
Yay.
that's why so many people do it, guys. Like, think about it. So Sonic is set up. Yes, he's like wrong. And I think what's happening is there's a disconnect between people that have been playing the games for so long with such a shallow story. So it positions Sonic where he can be always right because there's zero drama. And now we have a series where there is drama and Sonic makes mistakes and he says things that are stupid, but that's a character. And so when you plug in Sonic's character traits, right? Sometimes he doesn't think things through all the way. Sometimes he's impatient. He tries to see the good in people. He tries to help people. And then you try to write that, write that character into a world with drama. What else are you gonna get? You're gonna get this, where he's clashing
Sonic
with the
has
character
flaws.
Yeah, but the thing is, people aren't used to it because they've been playing the games for a while. And I'm not trying to say that those stories are objectively worse, but the problem is that's the lack of drama is the problem that people have had with it. So this is where the divide is. So just at this point, we're identifying where the fence is, and you are going to decide which side of the fence you're on. So it's basically, do you see Sonic as this kind of flowing character that kind of is meant to have this like almost, I mean, again, I'm not on this side of the fence, so maybe my description of it is flawed, but I'm trying. Maybe your image of Sonic is this kind of almost like
perfect, flawless.
Yeah, I don't want to say that though, because clearly they wouldn't describe it that way.
Say shonen hero.
Maybe, but I'm thinking of something like a role model, something to aspire to be. And when he makes decisions that don't align with yours, you kind of cringe, and it makes it hard for you to identify with this character because he's making such poor decisions. Or you're on the other side of the fence, where you're looking for a character that you relate to because they make the wrong decisions, but you can still relate to them because the intentions have always been the same, which is that he's trying to see the good in somebody. I know that that's something that I consistently try to do, and people consistently tell me is wrong. However, it works out for me in surprising ways, consistently. And it seems like that's what the series is constantly showing to us, which is that Sonic's mercy towards Eggman sometimes leads the plot to go where they work together and they defeat a greater evil. So because Sonic and Eggman have a respect for each other, when everything went wrong and the metal virus started spreading to everyone and he lost control of it, sure, it created a lot of damage, but Eggman respects Sonic enough to work with him to fix it. And other characters that Sonic has willingly ended would not do that. So you listed earlier, Toru, Black Doom would not do that. And so it's about figuring out what characters can do that. But that is literally life. Do you not face that problem throughout your life? Please tell me. Anybody who has criticized this, please tell me how. How do you walk through life knowing exactly who deserves to live or die? That is insane, bro. How do you do that?
You see, I am actually God, and therefore I have a little counter over everyone that I see, and it says kill or not kill.
I was gonna say, are you people struggling with deciding who lives or dies? I do that every day.
Yeah. It's really simple.
It's very easy. I know everything in the world, and I'm able to make godlike decisions on a daily basis because
it's pretty obvious Sonic is a god.
It just felt like the argument was that, and this is the thing. I think it started with Sonic seemed a little too preachy here. You know, he took the moral high ground. It came across as snobby. But oh, wait a minute. Then again, it sounds like we're listing Sonic's character traits. Maybe people that didn't like this speech empathized more with Surge. Because what's interesting about the dialogue that's happening on social media about this issue is that it feels like the people who don't like Sonic here are exactly like Surge. He's like, she's like, just like that. The doctor's too even then, and it pisses her off even more. Because that's exactly what's pissing off the audience. And so please tell me, is that not a good story? If these characters are real and emulating real discussions that are happening on social media right now, and this comic is promoting discussion on morality, please tell me how that is a bad story.
Imagine instead of like them having this big epic battle, they're just fighting on Twitter.
Just having a social media war.
Well, it does actually seems like that. Like I could see Surge like responding on Facebook like very badly and like not no punctuation and being like just like spamming Sonic like, how could you? This is
Nah, absolutely. You know, Surge took a selfie prior to the fight. Is like about to fight this hedgehog, and then she replied and is like, "Fuck, I'm not posting that video. I got roasted. I'm not posting that."
I saw that.
Instead of
great.
Sonic like ending the argument with Psy, we'll do it your way. He says Psy ratio.
And so the other thing people were bringing up too was that Sonic literally addresses it in the comic. Surge is also saying, yeah, give me the freedom that I want to do as I please, no regrets, as Surge actually attacks. And so basically what Surge is saying is like, yeah, let me like beat up whoever I want. See, this is freedom. And so it's a lot of what we're hearing on social media and criticizing this issue. Like, yeah, why don't I just let a murderer go around and kill people? And then Sonic literally says, no, you don't have the freedom to take it from other people.
Yeah,
so,
and I think another big thing here is that Sonic stands his ground in the way that he says, yo, if you are I give you the freedom to do whatever you want. First of all, if he's giving this freedom to Surge, it's because he sees, or at least for now he believes, there's a spark there of hope that can change her, that can redeem her. You already established that, perfect. But Sonic stands his firm ground in the way that if I let you have your freedom and you decide to use this freedom to harm others, I will be there. I will chase you and I will beat you up again and again. You know, so it's not like he's like, yeah, just go to Green Hill and kill everybody. Drown the people in the waterfalls. Throw the people in toxic waters of chemical plant. No, he's like, act up and you'll find me. I'll be there. So again, it's the Sonic I know and love. Where's the issue?
This is the thing, and maybe we're realizing this is why other characters are important. Maybe if you're upset about this Sonic behavior, maybe it's time to look into becoming a Surge fan, because clearly Surge is your character, because Surge doesn't agree either.
Surge Defense Squad!
And the best thing is, Sonic has a colorful cast of characters that disagree with Sonic consistently. Even his best
like
friend,
Shadow.
Tails. No, even Tails disagrees with Sonic consistently.
Yeah.
But yes, Shadow, Knuckles disagrees with Sonic.
Shadow. I have the Shadow Support Squad t-shirt.
I've always thought that the Sonic cast was really distinct. Each one had a very different kind of outlook on life, and they're heroes for very different reasons. And I just think that if you're gonna change Sonic as he's seen in this issue, I think he just becomes too much like Shadow, or too much like Tails, or too much like somebody else, or Surge here. And you need those differences and those mistakes, like Knuckles being a little bit too trusting sometimes, which it may be frustrating to see repeated time and time again, but God only knows I sometimes hate myself when I make the same goddamn mistake over and over again in my life. I don't want to, I don't like it. And if somebody filmed me and made a comic book of that thing happening to me, yeah, I'd probably not like it. And yeah, I'd probably go on Twitter and say, damn, this sucks.
Man.
But it happens.
Something I also thought about was like, I was thinking just what could happen that would be interesting. It's like if like Sonic goes back on his morals, like I don't know, like enough damage, Surge causes enough damage, or enough of his friends say you made the wrong choice, that he's like, wow guys, I did make the wrong choice. Wow. I definitely see Shadow snapping him out of it. Like, it has to be Shadow that would get him back to his morals if he switched sides. Because then the whole arc goes full circle. Because then we can... Because issue... It's 6 or 7, but they have like the whole fight where Sonic convinces Shadow that, hey, we shouldn't kill people. If Sonic was then like, I'm going to kill him, Shadow would have to be the one saying, you're not you're not in the right headspace. This is something you would never forgive yourself over. Like,
Yeah.
that would be how that arc would have to end.
Yeah, like I can see other characters talking out of it, like Amy, Tails even, but like I think the perfect one would be Shadow. I would agree with you there.
Yeah, just because it would then like reflect on the first argument, like it would come full circle.
All
Could be
right.
a nice outcome.
I think since we all seem to agree, I think we need to put the rest of our focus on figuring out the criticisms to Sonic's character. Maybe because we've looked pretty heavily on this issue, and I think at least here, there's nothing here. It may be that people are upset with how Sonic continues to be this way. And so maybe the problem started earlier on in the series, right? Maybe it was something else he did. There has been a consistent theme of forgiveness with Sonic's character in IDW Sonic. And so it seems more like this may have been an issue that snowballed. Because honestly, Sonic's forgiveness is kind of warranted here. He really only forgives Surge, and it's pretty clear that Surge is somebody who, I mean, they make it very clear right here in the very first exchange they have that there's something more going on. So I don't think anyone is saying that it's not appropriate. I think it's more so people are saying there's a bigger problem here that we need to take a look at. So let's try to grab somebody that thinks differently than us. Daki, did you want to say something before we did that?
Well, I know of a gripe, because I've seen this on the timeline a lot, that we maybe want to go over real quick. Maybe you've gone over it in all of our speeches, but if you can focus on the panel that Sonic gives his speech,
Sure.
looking at Surge. One criticism that I've read a lot, and I think is worth considering, or at least debating, is that the way some people completely agree with us in what we're saying, in the way that this plays to Sonic's morals and he's in character all you want, but what some people very much dislike, and I can see why, but I can also imagine why they feel like this, it's the way Sonic presents this speech, the face he's making, like the bedroom eyes kind of thing, the I know what I'm talking about, someone described it to me like bedroom eyes, like these closed eyes. It's more of a joke, but you understand.
Now I
These,
can't
like-
see it.
But
These,
that's a Sonic expression. What are you talking about?
Exactly, but that's what
Exactly.
people
For
have
the
said.
moment.
That's what people have said.
I want to
Yeah,
see the
but-
world and find all its thrills and adventures and enjoy them. I want everyone to have freedom to do that too. Like he's chilling. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Everyone got
So-
super speed.
What some people at least have come to me, and I've seen on Twitter a lot, is, okay, I think the perfect example to picture this is picture Sonic and the Black Knight, right? Obviously, we always go there. The final speech he gives there, and compare it to this. Again, I'm completely okay with this, and I love how he's portrayed here. But what to some people that disagree have told me is, number one, he speaks a little too much, right? It's too much words and not enough action. And number two is basically the same deal, but like I think people picture this as this, again, perfect Sonic that would start saying, like, first of all, say a lot less and get to the point quicker, and second of all, maybe do this, like, say a phrase to her, looking at her, and then start walking like out, like leaving the scene, and having this epic, just very much main anime shonen character, which is what Sonic basically was during the entire Jason Griffith era, in my opinion.
Yes, and I
People
hate
look for that perfection constantly. Like people, I think people are missing this perfection because it's been a while since Sonic's acted like that. So people are gasping straws at, we want to see this. We want to see Sonic do exactly this perfect anime character,
okay. Can
right?
you describe to me exactly the alternate scene? Because I wasn't exactly following completely.
Okay, so I kind of made.
So instead of the speech, you want him to do what?
There was like a rewrite that that was on Twitter of this that a lot of people sent me. I don't really recall it now, but basically instead of him, you know, being on the high ground and looking down like that, and yes, I love adventure and blah blah, just probably be more relaxed, you know, just say whatever to her, and while he's talking, instead of just looking at her, leave, you know, act like he doesn't care, like the battle is done, and basically resolving it with words and morals over, you know, this looking down at her with this expression, and yes, and explaining with words. What people want to see is action, and people and Sonic communicate basically the same thing, but with fewer words and more action. There's a lot of people that really want this for some reason, and I get it, because they probably grew up with chasing Sonic, so did I, and you're missing this, again, shonen main character Sonic.
I'll fix it. I'll fix it for them. Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
I want everyone to have freedom to do that too.
I don't think that the accent is what they're looking for.
That's what they were looking for.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
What?
it's peak.
It's
That one voice changed everything.
What I will say about all that though is, do you ever have like an awkward moment with like your family or something, or like some friends, and then like you think about it later on when you're like at home alone, and you're like, man, if I went back and did it, it would be like this, and I would say this,
Yes,
and
yes.
and everyone would think it was so funny and awesome, and and I would be super popular and perfect. That's exactly what that is. It's just kind of like if Sonic was a god, he would be like that. And that's different strokes, different folks. Some people just like stories like that where the character
Yes.
So if I was there, I totally would have owned Surge.
like, I think some people just like to see Sonic and just like have stars in their eyes and be like, oh my god, like you are
He's so dreamy.
excellent and
He's so cool.
perfect.
Love him.
That's so cool.
But the difference for me is that I love the character that looks at himself like that, and everyone just thinks he's so silly. That's what I like. Where
Yeah,
Sonic
I
thinks
like-
he's amazing, and
Yeah.
and everyone doesn't agree, and it's so funny because he's like he's delivering this speech to Surge, like, because if I was to like direct animate this, I'd play this up for a joke. I would set it up that Surge maybe mocked him earlier in the issue. Like, I just know how he's gonna be when he shows up. He's gonna be like, I know there's a better way, like makes fun of him. And then when he does it, she'd be like, yeah, like freaks out because like there it is. There's the stupid fucking thing that he does all the time to everyone. And then she
Yeah, she'll
snaps.
literally be like oh no, Sonic is like a hero. He wouldn't be this like arrogant and this dumb, and then he does the thing, and she's like, why am I losing to this loser?
I was gonna say,
what
like,
I'm saying is he should prove her right. So I think she should she should say it's gonna happen, and then when it does, but it's even worse, it should set her on this course. Like, it's clear they're trying to set her on a journey to grow as a character. So I'm hoping that Surge will learn to focus on her surroundings and not just Sonic, like to be strong as a person, not to defeat Sonic. But also, I think that might be just it. I think that's really what I'm hoping they focus on. I don't know. What were you gonna say, Daki?
I was gonna say exactly the thing you said, that you were gonna make a joke out of it. I think and I'm already seeing chat. You know, at least a few people in chat. They don't want you to do this. They do not want. This is a serious scene. They do not want you to set this up as a joke. They don't want to see Sonic communicate this much verbally.
Hold on. Just because something is humorous does not mean that the scene is set up as a joke. Like,
okay,
it can
but
still
people
be,
are looking.
It's serious.
Sonic.
It's serious for Surge, right? Because Surge absolutely hates Sonic, whether it's real or not. And the scenario I just described, Surge is genuinely venting. So this is a scenario I just made up. So I'm saying that Surge is venting to Kit, literally hating the way Sonic is, which is what she was trained to be like. And Sonic just literally does the thing that drives Surge crazy. I'm just saying that if that's established before he does it, there can be a comedic way of observing it in that Sonic looks like a fool. Because clearly, what's interesting about this scene is when you look at it from Surge's perspective. So it
That's
would
not what
not
the
be
people want.
funny as the reader because you're witnessing it from Surge's perspective. However, from Sonic's perspective, it could be funny. It's called nuance and it's called different perspectives,
I
which
would
makes an
totally be
interesting
okay
story.
with it. Yeah, but again, this is not the. You have to picture that people have been lacking and they want Sonic to be and to act. Again, action over words. And honestly, the Sonic that nailed this the most, again, is Jason Sonic. You know, that whole era with Black Knight, Secret Rings, all that jazz. So people, again, they want that so bad. Like a big criticism from people is that they want this here. Like they want the Sonic they know and love. But again, that's an issue from the whole franchise. There's so many Sonics that we all love and appreciate different Sonics and different sides of him. So again, the people, no, don't make a joke out of this. You're not supposed to try to make a joke out of this, make it funny, even though it's nuanced or whatever. No, Sonic should just few words, walk away, maybe look back at her, you know, with a good anime main character stare. And I get that. I get what people want that because it's maybe the side of Sonic that a lot of us love, and myself included. I mean, I love when he does that. But, you know, I also appreciate when Sonic is more than that. That's why I don't really have an issue with this. But
Yeah.
a lot of people just, again, they want that Jason era Sonic. Like, that's who he is, and he's not supposed to be another way.
Yeah.
And the way you present this, even if good, in my opinion, very good, that's not what they want to see. That's not Sonic to them.
I mean, all I suggested was a setup for why Sonic's speech pisses off Surge. And also, the other thing I suggested was better payoff for the end of the fight, which I think supersedes Sonic lecturing a little too long. Because honestly, that's kind of like I think the payoff of the whole clash between the two characters is less of a nitpick because that's the whole payoff compared to a speech that Sonic delivers, which, again, context. You're comparing Jason Griffith, who never... Why would there be... He didn't do an audiobook for the Archie comics.
Yeah.
He never read
Yeah.
for the comics. So we have zero comparison of an equivalent context or comparison, right? So
Would
this is a
agree, yes,
comic book.
absolutely.
This is a comic book, so there's going to be more words.
Mhm.
And Sonic, I don't think, has ever had a lecture this long in any of the games. Ever. The longest one are probably the ones where people did cringe because they were long.
Yeah, maybe the one
Like,
with Shiro or something.
He would not deliver a speech this long.
Yeah.
But if you read the Archie comics, you read any of the comics, Sonic talks a lot more than he would in any of the games ever. That's just across the board. And so when you factor all that stuff in, and the fact that it boils down to, oh, Sonic should do more action, and then you look at this comic, and it's a big fight where they're obviously going to want to spend most of the pages with the action. I'm pretty sure the resources are being utilized well here, right? They focus on the clash between Sonic and Surge. They're focusing on the fight. I wish they showcased Surge losing. Like I said at the beginning, though, before we even got into show, don't tell stuff, I was saying they should show how Surge lost. Make it about Surge, because this is about Surge. Sonic is the established character, so we are seeing this from Surge's perspective. I said they can inject some humor, but that's only for Sonic's perspective, because it would be funny to him. And in fact, they already do that when Sonic says, let's try again. I'm Sonic, because he doesn't understand. He doesn't have the context, and that makes a Surge more angry.
He didn't read the last issue. Sorry, guys. He didn't read Bad Guys.
Yeah, he doesn't know what's going on, which is fine. They can use that as a joke and make it overall more entertaining, but that doesn't mean that it's not a serious scene. It's clearly serious for Surge, and we're not saying to make something that Surge does less serious. Or I shouldn't say we. Me. I'm not saying that. So yeah, I think just Sonic talking a little too long. Like, look how long this one speech bubble is here. The video game dialogue is not this long. Let me just read it out. Yeah, I've gotten used to those. I've also fought a few folks with the whole "the world wronged me, so I'm gonna destroy the world" shtick. Sonic never speaks that long. Like, that's already way longer than Sonic speaks ever.
Yeah,
like,
this is true.
This is a lot of speaking overall, and that's I guess maybe, I mean, it's kind of like how I was talking about how I wish the paneling was a little bit as imaginative and flexible as the art here is. Maybe that's something that we can kind of chalk up to a general criticism, is maybe Sonic can just talk less in general. And you know what? I don't think I'd have a problem with that. I think less is more. But here, it's not a problem. That's my stance, is that, yeah, it's a little wordy, but I think this rings true, consistent from Archie to multiple writers, too. In the context of comic books, Sonic has always kind of talked this much in my memory.
No, dude, remember the comic where Sonic makes the literally like free panels and the whole panel is just dialogue of puns? Like, he literally just says nothing but puns for like an entire page. Yeah, it's because I think the writers get it's the writers and the artists get paid the most, right? And so it's a battle between who has a bigger role and who has control. And so naturally, there's going to be this balancing act on the management team to make sure that both parties feel like they have an equal say in things. And so I guarantee you that that's what this is that the art literally covers so much of the page already, and it's a comic book, so it should. But if there's barely any words on that, how do you justify paying the writer just as much as the artists? Like, I'm just saying, consider the medium. Like, this is what I wish I was seeing. I saw one tweet about it, but most people just like focus on what Daki was saying, which is just that they have this like particular vision of the character, and when it's not that, it sucks. Well, go watch Sonic X, or go watch Sonic the Black Knight. Sonic X, go watch your mid-show.
Okay, wow. I'm not saying that, but like,
shots fired.
Or create a character that embodies what you saw as a good protagonist and bring that into the world, because clearly the world is missing that for you. But when we're judging this on its merits, on its goals, on what it's trying to do, I just don't see the issue. And it being trying to be a comic book, trying to do the balancing act of an even distribution of text and pictures, because it's a comic book, should go without saying, but here we are, we're in the Sonic community. This is how much we have to analyze everything. But hey, I'm happy to do a little arts education while I'm off hours. That's fine. I don't mind. It's free of charge.
We have
to. knows what he's talking about. Believe him.
Who?
He knows. You. You know what you're talking about.
Oh, thanks. So we should definitely have somebody else come in here. I'm hoping to get somebody that disagrees with us. Anyone?
There's a lot of people that disagree with us, so I'm sure.
Let's hear it. Let's learn. Sure. So has anyone here been listening the entire time and has disagreed with us with everything, most things?
Someone that disagrees, type in the Tales Channel Discord on lobby.
Let's go.
And we'll get you.
Challenge.
Yeah, this Lavia Ray person has definitely, they wanted to step in. At some point they tagged us and like, I want to step in here. So I think this should be interesting.
Okay,
Are they in the stage?
We'll let them join, but I will say that if the adding behavior continues, that's a privilege that will go away very quickly, okay? In the future. I just don't want to reward that, because then if everybody does it, that would suck. I'm not mad.
Exactly.
I just don't want to encourage it. So don't do it anymore, but you're welcome to come on.
The people corrected them already on that, so
sick.
We're fine.
Thanks, Tales Channel community. Okay, so I'm gonna invite them to speak, and let's see what they have to say.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hi. All right. Start from the top.
You gonna roast Sonic?
Huh?
You gonna roast Sonic right now?
We'll see.
Okay.
So first off, I would like to say sorry about the tagging thing. I was kind of told by someone to tag to get attention, especially like
that's fine.
when
You're all good.
Starting, it was like
no problem.
Yeah. So anyway.
No, it's one of those things where it's like if you do it again, it's like, okay, clearly you didn't understand something, so I just have to make it really clear. That's all.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Secondly, I want to just start this as a ground rule right now.
Sure.
Because I've been more or less having to deal with this conversation for about the past 4 or 5 days, and everyone keeps going back to this like I said it, even though I don't. And I not only do I know it's not possible, I don't want it. So just start with the ground rules. I don't want Sonic killing any. I can just say right now, I don't want or need Sonic to have a body count. If we want to have Sonic never kill any of his villains, I am totally fine with that. We can just set this ground rule right now, okay?
Cool. All right.
All right. So let's start with the basics. When it comes to myself, I hate it. I was not surprised with everything that come out. I was not surprised with anything in issue 50, but I ultimately hated everything in issue 50.
Okay.
And I can pretty much break down pretty much all three of the bigger problems of the three big issues, but I want to just focus more on Sonic's character. So the issue that comes with Sonic is not that I am looking for him to be like any other previous version of Sonic, or that I need him to be like the distant shonen hero, which I really don't know which characters you guys think about with that. The issue is that I don't want, in order to try to bring his more I believe in freedom mindset, I don't want that to be interpreted and turn into something that is more toxic and awful than Steven Universe's logic. So here's where the issue comes in. Issue 50 is not where this started out. Evan was right about that. This really ultimately you can kind of go back to kind of the stuff with Tinker, but especially what happens in issue 32. When Sonic ends up coming back, stops Eggman from trying to like set the entire city and killing all his friends in that fight. He comes back, and Eggman starts flying away. And this is when Sonic ends up going like, "I'm gonna beat you time and time again. If you ever do this stuff, I'm gonna stop you." Which there's a problem with that as well, but I want to come back to that later. The big issue is him going, and maybe someday you'll turn around, and someday you'll ultimately start being good. This is where the issue comes in. Not that Sonic should not be allowed to forgive anyone, but the idea of blindly applying this logic of everyone deserves freedom, even and applying it to even villains who have outright tried to bring on apocalypses twice, third by proxy. That's where the issue comes in.
So is Eggman your primary example of that?
Eggman and Metal.
Metal Sonic?
Yeah, we can stick with those. We can stick with those two. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because that's the other time that comes up in issue 12, where Sonic, even though like under the idea of like, oh yeah, he disarmed him, that means like he could just set him free and everything, and he just set him free. And instead of considering like, well, he still just tried to take over the world again, the Sonic's logic is, well, we should just kind of just let him make his own decisions. Even though there's been nothing to honestly try to either rehabilitate him or try to get him to be good in the first place. So that's basically just saying, hey, we stopped you for 5 seconds. Now we're going to let you go, even though you were just trying to take over the planet 5 minutes ago. So that's where the issue kind of comes in. So I'd like to hear your thoughts about this.
Okay, I have some immediate thoughts right away, and then I'll throw it to the other two. But my main thing is, it seems like what Ian is grappling with, and the writers are grappling with, is trying to figure out why it is that Sonic and Eggman have been battling years after year after year after year, and why it never ends. And so he's trying to follow up a little bit on some concepts that I think were brought up in Sonic X, funny enough, where it seemed like for example, Eggman like saves Sonic at one point, but has every reason to end him, but doesn't. And I think this is an example of kind of that, but it's being stretched to a point where there needs to be some sort of explanation that has more weight. And so I think where the frustration comes from is that there isn't a better established reason why Metal Sonic and Eggman specifically, Sonic sees good in them. Like, we get a little bit of like, Eggman he made these toys and he became Mr. Tinker at one point, and then we've got Belle, who is looking for something within Eggman. But even after all this, right, it seems like all those kind of narrative strands are kind of like flying off. And how are they going to continue to have Sonic battle Eggman after every single threat that he creates? It has to have stakes. It has to seem like it matters. Eggman has to seem evil, but there has to be something that stops Sonic from ending Eggman, because he's literally Eggman. He's the main antagonist. So what stops Mario from killing Bowser?
Well, hold up, stop. Again, nope, do not need to kill Wolf. But here's the problem with that. just because we need a reason doesn't mean there needs to be a in-universe character motivation for it. Like, honestly, I've seen people say this over and over again. It's like, well, what's the better solution? What's the better solution? The better solution is don't address it. Like, let's just take it to a more simpler example. Pokemon. In Pokemon, Team Rocket always end up showing up, dealing with Ash and Co, either trying to steal their Pokemon or whatever the Pokemon is of the day. And usually it ends with them getting electrocuted and sent flying off. And that is totally fine. I don't, you can bring up, like, there is a fair kind of jokey question of like, oh, why don't you just go ahead and get them arrested and put in prison? But it's like, they're the mainstay villains. It's a comedic, they are ultimately mainstay villains. We ultimately can't deal with them. We ultimately can't permanently put them away. We can't permanently put them away. This is the best we got. And that's totally fine. I honestly would have been fine with that still being applied here, where Sonic either just like beats Eggman or whatever villain so badly that they just send them flying off, or when they end up getting beaten, Eggman's able to just like get away for one reason. Because I'd rather have that as an in-universe reason about why they doesn't deal with them, versus trying to have Sonic delusionally believe that someone who has tried and almost succeeded several times at taking over the planet, and still believes that but still is under the delusion that they can technically be good, just because he believes everyone should have the freedom to choose. Because the problem is, between the time that he stops them from being bad and when they show up and start more problems, all the victims that they have in between, that is ultimately falling on the responsibility of Sonic's inaction. Like, that's the reason why I honestly really don't like this interaction with Sonic and Scourge, because at the end of the day, Sonic's inaction, Surge is right. Sonic's inaction when it comes to dealing with Eggman and Starline in particular did lead to her and Kit getting kidnapped and
I would agree.
Watched and experimented on.
I would agree. So I'm very interested on how you're saying that the problem or the alternate solution would be to not bring it up. So it seems like the issue is that because this Sonic narrative continues to focus on Sonic's morality and his forgiveness, it would be better if the focus instead was on the current arc theme or whatever the lesson was in that arc, and not trying to do this interwoven, consistent, bigger theme of forgiveness. And so all I can really say to that is that it's clear that it is very front and center in issue 50, right? Like, it is very, like, it would be very silly if there was absolutely no end or payoff or lesson for Sonic after talking about morals and forgiveness over and over and over again with Belle, with Mr. Tinker. Like, it just keeps coming up, multiple arcs. So It really all depends on what is at the end of whatever this is.
All right, so I want to try to get Daiki, is that how I pronounce it?
Me? Yeah.
Daiki, yeah.
Daiki and Toru to jump in on this too. But honestly, after really listening to some of Flynn's podcasts, the payoff is going to be ultimately Surge just probably ends up going through, either just drops it and just moves on and they're never going to address it again. Because the problem here is, while Toru is right that we've had multiple characters bring this up, we've also had Sonic on multiple occasions double and triple and quadruple down on this mindset. Like, if we've already taken this logic, taken this mindset of everyone deserves freedom and the opportunity to be good, even if they've been the worst villains, to the most extreme extent when it comes to the Metal Virus arc, taking that to the most extreme, and Sonic still chooses to double down on it, where do you go? Because here's the thing. I've seen people try to argue that he was trying to be empathetic towards Surge in this fight. He wasn't. He ultimately, while he ended up ultimately understanding, oh yeah, this is probably just another situation like with Shadow and stuff, he doesn't really try to do anything to show that he understands the problems that she's gone through, or try to even take any type of remote blame. Basically just went, hey, I forgive you for punching me. Let's just go ahead and call everything a wash, and I just don't take any responsibility of what happened. I don't take any responsibility or any type of credit for any type of fault or responsibility for what happened. And if they're not going to do it here, especially considering the fact that by the end of this issue, he still ends up doubling down this mindset, I don't think they're going to. The best chance we have of Sonic actually growing out of this is if Stanley ends up deciding to go against it, because Flynn, from my understanding, this 51 is going to be his last issue. It's supposed to be his last issue, and Stanley's supposed to be taking over as like the main writer. But I think he could be jumping back and forth. He was kind of a little vague about that when he was talking about it. So if Stanley does this, there might be a chance. But there's also been like a little bit of talk from him that him and Stanley do work off each other to try to make sure that books line up. So honestly, if I had to put my money on it, I don't think that Sonic's ever going to grow out of this, because if he has doubled down on this time and time again, I don't see him trying to just out this, especially if they're doing like you said, Evan, where they're trying to use this as a in-universe justification for why Eggman is always going to be around. What are the chances that he's ever going? That's probably what they're trying to use as justification in the meta, and they're not going to undo it.
I don't think they're going to undo it either, and I will throw it to Daki and Toru right after this, but what I will say is that I didn't mean to imply that I think Sonic would change, because I'm pretty sure it's established Sonic as static, so I think he'll end up being right, but I think the story, this consistent theme of forgiveness will be further explained and shown in narrative beats in the future, so that it becomes clearer as to why Sonic continues to be this way. That's what I'm hoping for anyways, and if it doesn't, then I would also have a problem with it, because it seems like it's leading to something.
Yeah.
Toru,
what do you think about what we've been hearing about here?
I do agree. Like right now, I think like my opinion is of the expectation they are going to give this debate closure. Like, of course we know at the end of the day they're gonna say Sonic is right, he's making the right choice, but I do think that like Sonic needs to be challenged. Like this debate is being challenged by the plot. They keep bringing it up, it keeps coming up, it keeps progressing. So I definitely say if they don't give it like a conclusion, I will be a lot more negative towards this debate than that. I definitely want Sonic to be... I've said what I want the arc to go, but I want Sonic to then doubt himself. I want him to be like, I made the wrong decision, and then I want Shadow to...
I don't know if that... The doubt thing, again, like, when it comes to... like, because it's like you said before, Toru, I don't think he's gonna, like, change or anything.
Yeah, he's not going to change. Yeah. Like I said, Sonic is going to be portrayed as made the right decision.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I do think the debate needs like a closure, like Sonic to be like, I was right, and like, I don't know, like get validation. Like,
well,
again, I feel like
I think the truth is that Sonic isn't really... I mean, he said this himself multiple times, but he's really not a good person. I truly think that...
Like that. I like that about Sonic. Yeah, that is part of my interpretation. That Sonic saves people and the world solely because he wants to.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. He's not like I like pretty much my idea that if Sonic wanted to destroy everything like Surge, he'd be the same character. He'd just do that. Like,
that's why Metal Sonic is so interesting, because he's literally just Sonic, but he has the drive to defeat Sonic.
Yeah.
Because Sonic is just this... He just is something that he enjoys doing what he does, and just does it, and he enjoys the freedom to be able to do that. And so, in a weird way, and this is what makes Sonic's character interesting, because he's not just hero, he's not just good guy. He sees Eggman and sees his passion for world domination, and what I think he sees is, wow, wouldn't it be exciting if he's still out there and he tries to take over the world, because I'll stop him again, and it'll be so fun.
My interpretation, I don't think Sonic himself may realize it. This is could be internal to him, but he definitely likes letting Eggman go because he wants another battle. He wants to keep having the brawl with Eggman. He wants it to continue.
Okay, hold up. I want to jump in here real quick, because here's the thing. I think I have a more good boy interpretation of Sonic than YouTube, which is fine. But here's the thing. This is something I keep seeing as a defense to to what's been going on in IDW. And I'm trying to figure out, why do you want this? Because I get the idea that it's supposed to be a little complex, but it's like, here's the thing. I've seen people try to compare Sonic to Goku on here, and I think there's a little bit of a debate here, but why, especially for a character who has actively been trying to show that he wants to save people, and let's be honest, one of his biggest weaknesses should be about how he doesn't consider the consequences or how his responsibilities and the consequences of his actions. Why do we want to frame, not just why do we want this to happen, but why do we want to frame, why would we want to see his character framed in such a way that he will choose his own action rush? He will choose getting a chance to fight and show off who he is, gets a chance to show off and be competitive, and will risk other people's lives, not only his friends, but but all the other people that could end up losing in the process. And to come back around, I really don't think IDW Sonic can really take that as a point, because this Sonic, like, I know people complain all the time about how Sonic is never allowed to lose, but the problem is Sonic doesn't really have a win in IDW. Like, he has not gotten a proper he has not had one proper solo win throughout the entire run. Almost every single time he's had to get his behind saved by someone. At best, you have the second rough and tumble fight, and that was a tag team with him and Tails. Every other time, he's never beaten anyone. This mindset in particular really rubbed me the wrong way in issue 43 and 44, where his whole idea is like, well, if the Zeddy come back, I'm gonna come back and stop him. Like, let's even ignore all the people that are gonna get hurt in the process.
That was a personal drive, though. Like, that was because he was personally wrong. Like, that felt more like I'm going to stop them as payback. They personally caused a lot of damage to both me and my friends that I want to be the one to stop them. Again, he wants to be the one to stop them. He's not
right,
like,
but he can't. But the problem is, he clearly can't. He basically almost ended up losing in that. He almost ended up losing in that fight. And if it wasn't for Tails getting those pucks, he probably would end up losing and getting his ass beat by Zavok by the end of that.
Yeah, because he's impulsive.
But
that's a character flaw. It's interesting.
No, but it's not a character. Here's the problem. I can't count that as a character flaw if the story's never challenging him or forcing him to grow from that mindset. If anything, it's challenging or forcing him to grow from that mindset. Like, I've seen people try to argue that this whole mindset of him thinking that Eggman can be good is a character flaw. But the problem is that the only time that it's ever really properly challenged by it is sometimes by the plot and sometimes by the characters. But again, he always ends up doubling down and never feels the need to grow past this, regardless of the consequences that come from it. So we can call it a character flaw if we want to try rationalizing that to the character if we want. But at the end of the day, this is kind of, at best, kind of turning him into a tool that it doesn't, honestly, kind of an awful person, but the comic doesn't seem to be aware of it or willing to properly address it. Because again, the mindset that Sonic's ultimately going for here, it seems to be like this isn't the first time that Flynn has tried applying that. He did try applying this in IDW with Mighty of all characters. I mean, not IDW, in Reboot Archie with Mighty of all characters. And honestly, it doesn't, as much as we've seen like a couple of other characters try to push back on him, most of the other characters who could have been present for that fight, could have been present for that stuff to happen, never pushes back on him for it. Like, for example, when he did that whole line at the end of issue 32, pretty much everyone should have been able to hear that because it wasn't his internal thoughts. He said that, but no one pushed back on him for it. When it came to the whole Zeddy thing, it's not like there isn't a prison or government system here. No one pushed back on him for that. Shadow, even though he's interacted with him before, never shows up and pushes back on him for those traits. So it's like, even if this ends up being a character flaw, if he's not allowed to grow from it, all this is going to lead to him. All this leads to him is just basically getting to this into this really nasty, almost deconstructive cycle that just leaves everyone else as collateral. Which is why, again, I'm in the position of this should never have been addressed anyway. Like, I've seen some people trying to bring up Luffy as a counterpoint. So like, oh, he's kind of similar to Luffy in this regard. And to be honest, I could see Luffy doing something, having a mindset like this in One Piece. The problem is Oda knows never to put him in this position. So when more often than not, when he ends up beating up a villain, there will be adults around. Usually like either the Navy or whoever's like the the city that they're in, and they will come in and arrest those people and call it a day. Luffy doesn't try to argue like, yeah, they deserve the freedom to try to make their own decisions too. He doesn't have the skill to back. He doesn't have the skill to back up beating up these guys on his own because he hasn't done that to this point. He doesn't. The mindset that he has for forgiving these villains has never been properly challenged or shown that he has. Even though it's been shown to have proper consequences, he just doubles down on it. So even if we count this as a character flaw, what's the benefit of having a character like this when it just makes him look more like more like a tool, but the story's not willing to challenge him is not willing to properly challenge him on this mindset.
So here's my thing, and that was a lot, so there's no possible way I can address all
Sorry,
of it.
I know that was, sorry.
But I was trying my very best to follow, and I think I'm gonna have to simplify it and try to maybe like gloss over a lot of what you said. I was trying to find a consistent theme, and this is what I was able to come up with.
Okay.
So again, obviously, I think the goalpost is going to be different between you and I because we have a different perception on what Sonic is. So the best I can do is kind of just describe what I'm perceiving based on what you're saying and just Sonic as a whole. And so my perception of Sonic, and yes, it was established earlier that like my Sonic is a little bit less idealized and kind of is a little less admirable in that way. But I also see Sonic, even down to his gameplay, the very first games, because of the way that the screen was and the momentum-based gameplay, it really does encourage you to keep up your momentum and try your very best to do that in your first playthrough. And you have to think on your feet and improvise as things go. And because Sonic has this like flowy momentum kind of pace to him, his personality reflects that kind of thing. You see imagery of the wind, flowing through the wind, freedom with Sonic, right? There's this consistent theme with the way that he moves, the way that he looks, the things that he represents. And so his character, sometimes he makes decisions that don't make sense because that's literally the ebb and flow of Sonic's gameplay, is that you will make a decision or commit to a jump that is not ideal and puts you in a very awful position. But it's what you're able to do with the cards that life throws at you sometimes in those split seconds that makes those really incredible moments in the classic games happen, where you're like, what's happening? And then you quickly have to improvise, and then you bounce off of two badniks and then land on a monitor, and but you didn't know how you did it. Sonic level designs are set up in that way, and the story is the same way, right? The story sets up scenarios that are hard to explain, and it focuses on Sonic's morality. And I don't think Ian himself has an answer for how Sonic's morality wraps around this narrative. But I think it's the idea that Sonic is flexible and ever-changing and ever-evolving, and we've seen that even as a media property. He reinvents himself and finds a way to capture our attention again and again and again, and no matter how much he's beaten down by lack of sales or criticism, he finds a way to reinvent himself, come back, and that theme is consistent. It transcends all versions of Sonic, and I think this comic presents decisions that Sonic makes that don't make sense, but I think it is objectively a bad decision for Sonic to be trying to rant to Surge. I think that was a bad call for Sonic to make. Do I think it's a bad story? That's the difference. Do I think he's a bad character for it? That's the difference. I don't think so. I think he's making rash decisions, mistakes, but how Sonic is going to be able to pull it all together, I think he's aware that there's a fight coming his way. He's excited about the fight that he's going to have with Surge. He's not rushing to the resolution because he enjoys what he's doing. He enjoys doing a quick battle. He was hoping to learn more about Surge through the battle, her abilities, her story, but on her terms. Pushing for things would not be Sonic's focus because, again, you can actually, in this comic, I'm interested to see why you don't like this comic, because this comic does a great job at contrasting how each character resolves their solution. Tails is arguably more successful, and this comic is clearly aware of it because Kit ends up joining Tails, and Tails intellect first, right? Tails is not excited about a bout or about a battle or a showdown. That does not excite him. And so he opts to figure out what Kit is doing and what his morals are, And it sounds like what you're looking for is Sonic to do what Tails did, right? So, but Sonic didn't make that choice, and so that's why I would criticize the comic book itself and the writers if it felt like decisions weren't happening intentionally and there was inconsistencies and we didn't have this point of reference. But it's clear that Tails, like, the writer knows that to resolve the solution, you do this, because that's how the story went. And the writer also knows to not resolve the situation, you do this, what Sonic did. So the comic in no way is saying what Sonic did is right. The comics are interesting, I think, because Sonic doesn't always do what's right, because it doesn't always matter who is wrong or who is right. You just never give up the fight.
Okay, hold up. Okay, let's start from the top. First off, I get the parallel that you were trying to make with the game mechanics, but my problem here is this isn't trying to be like some flow-freeing just having fun kind of story. If it was going with that, again, I would not. At the very
well, that's the story for Sonic. The other characters, it's very serious to them.
That's Sonic's fighting style.
Right.
That's how he fights. Like, that's not like the story's tone. That's literally how Sonic fights. Sonic likes to have fun when he's fighting. He likes.
And that's the problem.
No.
It makes sense if we're looking at this solely from like, is this a functional version of Sonic? I still would agree. I still would disagree, but let's not even dispute about that. It's the same problem. This is actually what I was trying to cover with my Luffy example. Because so actually let's start from the top. You guys know what One Piece is.
We know what it is. I have never read One Piece, and you're never going to get me to read One Piece.
That's fine. You're missing out, but fine. Here's the problem. Like in that series, Luffy is also like Sonic. Luffy is also someone who is meant to want freedom above all else, and usually does try. And a lot of times when he gets involved in arcs, even though he is a pirate, his whole thing is he usually ends up getting involved with like massive political situations, and usually ends up into massive fights on behalf of other people, even though he doesn't consider himself to be a hero. The problem is not that, and honestly, IDW Sonic has nothing in terms of seriousness when it comes to what One Piece is going for. Do not let the art style fool you. It gets dark. The problem is, in One Piece, they do not frame Luffy's actions anywhere like this. Where if he ends up where we tried to frame like his "I do what I want" mindset to the point that it ends up actively causing negative consequences for a massive amount of people. And the few times that it does is usually about him having to grow and learn a little bit more about making sure that he's not as reckless. Like, I know people sometimes will call him a flat shonen character too, but he actually has developed some amount of responsibility and growth over the course of the entire series. So the issue here is not necessarily, I still would disagree with this being like a great way to write Sonic, but the issue here is not that but the issue here is, even if we were supposed to take this, do we really want to frame his character as someone, not just with the Surge fight, but just in general, someone who will still, again, choose to prioritize his own freedom, prioritize his own need for fights and action over the lives and suffering of his friends and civilians around him.
So here's the thing.
That's the question. I'm kind of curious if IDW fans are up for answering.
No, that's a good question to ask, and I think that's what the story asks. I think that's what Sonic as a character asks too, taking risks, like the leap of faith. You will always be putting people at risk. The best thing I can do is compare it to real life, and the fact that I took a big leap of faith to move in with my girlfriend when I got frustrated with my roommate because he said, "Oh, I'm going away for the whole summer, and I'm going to have you live with some random person and a cat that is vicious and will attack you at every corner of the apartment." And so I got so frustrated that I decided to move in with my online girlfriend at the time, who I had known for maybe a year or two. So it was an incredible risk. I didn't know anybody. I was moving away from all my friends, but I was going with the flow and making decisions based on what I wanted in the moment. I think the message here is like, because I did that at the expense of my mom and my friends missing me. But I think the lesson is that you can't stress about your decisions and their impact on everybody. And when you have a character like Sonic, if he truly considered every single factor of every single decision he made, because he has such a large impact, he wouldn't get anything done. He literally has to stick to what he thinks is right because he is one person. And yeah, it may have an impact on a lot of people and a lot of lives, but the point is that he's always doing what he thinks is right. And that's what makes him a good person.
Hold up. This again is going back to the framing argument. Like, here's the thing. I actually agree with you about the idea of like Sonic always being willing to take risk and trying to think about like always willing to take risk and do what he thinks is right. Fine. But again, do we really want to frame that around the idea that he will take a risk that has a less than 0% chance of happening, or less, and that's just in universe, a 0% chance, less than 1% chance of his villains turning good at the risk and the expenses of his friends. It's, again, you can argue it's a character flaw, but the series is never going to come back around and actually challenge and critique him for this mindset. It's not just about Surge. It's about how he ends up applying this mindset both to he applies this logic to literally every antagonist.
The very story itself in every Sonic game is the challenge that Sonic's mindset puts him through. It literally is what drives the story. Nothing would be happening if Sonic wasn't the way that he is. It's because, and it's how he deals with it. So a lot of Sonic stories, things probably wouldn't have gotten as bad if Sonic didn't get involved. But they do, and they escalate because he gets involved, because he exists. But I think the moral is that you are yourself, and you always will be yourself, and you'll only ever know, no matter how hard you try, what you know. And so I think when pressed, and when you are stressed and you don't know what decision to make, you just focus and do what you think is right. And I've always thought that that's what Sonic was trying to teach you in the game and in the stories. Okay,
let's put this in perspective. Do you really? Do we want to defend Lost World's Lost World, where you just all the decisions that Sonic made in Lost World?
So are you talking about how he decided to let Eggman try to fix the machine and it like sucked all the life out of the world?
And deciding to needlessly kick away his control kick away the control of the Zeddy.
Well, yeah, he didn't know what it was, and he immediately said it was a mistake.
Right. Even there, the whole idea is about him actually understanding that it was a mistake and learning not to do, ultimately learning not to do that. This is
right,
not,
but he never did anything exactly like that again.
Except IDW has him doing that over and over again.
But when? When was something exactly like that, where Eggman had a mysterious device and didn't have any, like, nobody had any time to explain it, and he just like kicked it?
No, not that. The fact that he decided that he had the idea of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna trust Eggman, and and hopefully he won't have and hopefully he won't try. Hopefully he will stay, and hopefully he'll stay good as tanker. He does.
Well, he didn't. He obviously thought his mindset was like, if he goes back, we'll just beat him again. Like that's it.
He's like, if Eggman comes back, let's go.
Yeah, like he's like,
hold up again. And all the victims and people in between that end up getting hurt in the process?
Well, what do you mean? In the process, so you're saying all the victims that get hurt because Eggman exists, you think Sonic should do more to prevent that?
Here's the problem. When it comes to the idea of, like I said before, going back to my Pokemon example, the whole idea about Team Rocket still being around.
Right, they don't address it. You said that. Right. They don't address it.
I'm just bringing that up to set that up again.
Right.
So when it comes back here, the problem is that we actively do set up that these guys do end up causing problems and mayhem. And instead of Sonic, and this is one of the reasons why I was giving my option of Sonic is still trying to stop him and trying to do his best to just like stop him from trying to hurt others. But then before they could, but for one reason or another, they're never able to properly capture him. Instead, we're going with the active idea that when Eggman does something wrong, Sonic will just stop him and just leave it at that. But the problem here is between that point when Sonic stops him and lets him go, and between the next time he ends up showing up and they fight, all those victims in between end up becoming an issue. So what should we consider those victims? Just collateral damage for Sonic's mindset?
Well, no, it's something that's out of his control. Like, I mean,
it is in control. That's literally the whole point of this. Here's the thing. People keep bringing this up in the server when they keep trying to show Spider-Man. It's like, oh, this is a way, like, you don't want him to be like this, but like Spider-Man, if anything, kind of helps my point. Because the whole idea about the mindset, with great power comes with great responsibility, is the whole idea is that when you have the opportunity to do something and prevent bad things from happening, you do whatever you can to prevent it. So if Sonic is supposed to be trying to save people, trying to make sure that nothing bad ever happens again, nothing like these people don't hurt anyone else, why
that's not what Sonic's life goal is, not to make sure no one ever gets hurt again, because that's unrealistic.
Right.
That's not what he believes, and he doesn't believe in locking Eggman up and wasting away in a room where everyone is safe. That's also not what Sonic thinks is right either.
I tell you, like, we can kind of make that interpretation about the games, but that's as far as I can tell, that's never been something that was directly stated in the games. That's just what the comics are trying to extrapolate and pretend and make it seem like that's always been a thing when it's not.
Right, but a lot of the games are wildly inconsistent, and I welcome additions like that try to make things make sense.
So, okay, fine. So let's just ignore all the games entirely. I'm actually okay with that. Why do we want to have a hero who will apply blanket everyone deserves freedom, even the people who are looking to try to keep freedom away from others? Why would you ever want a main character like that? Because I even saw someone on my Twitter.
Main characters aren't meant to have all the answers. They're meant to figure.
This isn't about having all the This isn't about them having all the right answers. That would be ridiculous. The issue here is, do we want them to just do the bare minimum? Only want them to do the bare minimum, but never actively try to do things to make sure that the people who are causing these problems that they don't try to do anything to prevent the people who are causing these problems from doing these problems again, just under the guise of, oh, he might turn good at some point. You never know. Because this is what the actual criticism is for IDW Sonic in particular, is the introduction of this mindset. Like, an artist friend of mine who's in the chat, who I'm pretty sure is still in the chat right now, she ended up making a comic about that was explicit about playing out this mindset, and everyone tried doing everything imaginable to try to rationalize this, but by basically just going, well, that's not what Sonic genuinely believes. That's the problem. They're trying to make this a thing here, and I'm trying to figure out, why would anyone want to make Sonic have a worse mindset than Steven Universe? Because here's the thing, Steven gets criticism. Oh, Steven Universe, and as an ex-fan, I can say this, Steven Universe gets criticism all the time by basically having the finale of season 5, basically have the main character go, hey, let's try to give having the main character give rehabilitation to genocidal tyrants. But the thing is,
no villain has ever been like White Diamond or any of them in Sonic.
What did we just see with Eggman trying to do in the Metal Virus arc?
That's different. That's an infection that got out of control. This isn't something
he also said at the beginning of the Metal Virus arc that he was going to figure out a cure later on.
Okay,
to control
that's
them.
Another problem I have with Eggman entirely. That's something else. That's something else if we keep going on this. But the whole plan that Eggman had was that it was supposed to have everyone get infected and pretty much everyone ended up turning into his own slave. One of the reasons why it didn't work is because Eggman didn't do the basic checks to making sure that virus didn't mutate, and ultimately led to him not being able to properly control them. But at the end of the day, that is what he was going for.
But then he also ultimately figured out how to cure it too with Sonic.
No, he didn't. That was all Tails. That was like, here's the thing. That was actually one of the things I found really frustrating about, I think, like issue 25, 26. Eggman doesn't do it. Eggman only really does the only thing Eggman does is at best help out with the teleportation machine, which we didn't need him. Which that was not something we needed someone else there for. That's something Tails could have just made with the Topaz crystal. That with the warp Topaz. That's not something.
So when you exist in a world where you have magical emeralds that can turn thoughts into power and dreams into reality, I think that might be what's happening here. Is that Eggman is like, oh, like I'll just grab the Chaos Emeralds, like Sonic will grab the Chaos Emeralds, somebody will figure out, like he says stuff all the time, like when the virus didn't entirely infect Sonic, he's like, oh, I should have known it wouldn't get you right away or whatever, stuff like that. Like they're aware that like this stuff, like there's a way to get out of it. You never know, right? You said something earlier, right? Like do we want a hero that is just kind of like, you never know what could happen? But that is what Sonic is. You know, you never know, right? Let's not kill Eggman. Let's not lock him away because you never know. But
hold on. That's also the same. Here's a problem. That's the same kind of like eye for an eye logic that I'm not. And it has the same problem. By that logic, you can just easily have Sonic go, there's no reason to really fight. No reason to really fight him at all. He might just decide to turn good halfway while he's fighting someone. You don't know. Just let him.
Well, he has fun fighting Eggman, especially when he's being bad.
To end, he's a selfish character. He's impulsive. He's not a good boy shonen. He does what he wants, and if he wants to keep fighting Eggman, that's what he'll do.
Right. Again, this goes back to my framing problem. Do we want to have this character be framed in this kind of mindset where he will prioritize his own benefits at the expense of everyone else, his own worldview, his own selfishness over everyone else's expense and suffering? Even to and the story never challenges on and never does a proper challenge to this mindset. Do we want that to be something that's incorporated to this character that makes him even more of a that actively takes him out of would take him out of actually being something even remotely resembling a hero? Why, and more importantly, why would we want that?
Because it's interesting.
Cool.
Hold up, how is it interesting to have someone who's just as selfish, who's just that much of a selfish prick?
Because it's interesting. It's character flaws. Sonic is not a good character, and that's why he's interesting. I don't want generic shonen hero number 27 that just wants to help all his friends.
So I think it's boiling down to like two different goalposts, like I started with saying. But I think it's an interesting question you're asking, right? Why would we want that? I think we've established it, right? There's a mentality of kind of, we want this Sonic to be a character that can be perceived as somebody that makes mistakes and goes with the flow, and sometimes that's not the most optimal decision. But there's also a group of us that wants a character that's somebody that they can look up to that makes the right decision more frequently.
But hold up. Those are not mutually exclusive. Those are not mutually exclusive. You can have a main character who does not make perfect decisions all the time. The problem here is, for all intents and purposes, for how the story works, Sonic is doing that because the story never challenges him or forces him to actually confront forces him to actually learn how bad. Never actually properly has him learn how bad of a mindset this is, or actually deal with any long-term consequences, other than at best he almost gets infected into a Zombar. So that's basically saying, like, even though he's supposed to care for all of his friends, he will prioritize his own selfishness before everyone else, and no one is ever really going to have a problem. No one's ever really going to have a problem with that.
Well, the thing is, having like, I don't know about you, but for me, and I'm about to read some donations after this little subject, but because there's been quite a few, and this conversation has been so heated, I can't focus on them. But I will say that I don't know about you, but for me, it was more challenging, and this might be, I feel like Sonic is set up to resonate with kids like this, because they have a character like Tails who looks up to Sonic, a younger brother kind of energy. They let you plug in the second controller and die as many times as you want to, so that the little brother can play and look up to Sonic. And Sonic is this character that embodies kind of knowing what's going on. And I think, oh darn, I think what I'll do is I'll hold this thought for now, because I'm getting distracted by the donations, so I'm gonna read them now. Deleter says, $10 or sends $10. Thank you so much. He says, I think the important aspect is the comic is intentionally bringing Surge's point up against Sonic. The comic isn't 100% on Sonic's side. It's critiquing it, challenging a static character. That's exactly what I was going to say. I'm so glad I read this first, is that it's basically, it's what I said before, is that the consequences are the plot. Like, it's one of those things where it's so close to you and big in your face that you can't see it. It's the fact that Surge exists is Sonic's mistake, and this whole arc and this story between these two characters is Sonic literally dealing with the embodiment of his mistake all the way from the Metal Virus arc. And so Surge is the payoff, and it's very exciting that issue 50 is the issue they're starting to address it. And so I think at this point, all we can do is be hopeful. It's clear that that's what the problem is on your end. There needs to be some sort of exploration on Sonic's forgiveness, and I agree. I think we would all like that. I think we all agree that Sonic's not going to come out of it changed in any way, and if that's what you're expecting, I think that's unrealistic. However, it should feel like Sonic or Surge has a strong point, and it doesn't just become like nothing. Like, Surge actually has something to prove, some sort of legitimate argument that informs Sonic's decision, and perhaps Sonic has a more refined way of describing why he feels the way he does after his bout with Surge. So it's not that he's going to change his goalpost, but maybe he can better refine and deal with his forgiveness moving forward thanks to Surge, and that way it would feel meaningful and like this wasn't for nothing. The deleter also donates another $10 and says, it will never challenge this. It's a bad position to take. The story is doubling down, even mentioning the Metal Sonic critique. It just has to justify Sonic now, a la a shonen hero. So Deleter is once again saying that since the story brings it up so frequently, like we were saying earlier, that it's clearly an intentionally placed story beat. And again, this might be something we have to revisit when we see more issues, because this is clearly a story beat that hasn't resolved, and this is the problem with getting issues spaced so far and released from each other. Is it's only natural to take this comic and judge it on its own merits by itself, but really it's in process. It's only a fraction of the entire narrative, so it's hard to say either way. And Kevin Catastrophe donated $5 and said nothing. So just thank you so much for the support. All right, Daki, I don't even know if you're still there, but we haven't heard from you at all. So maybe we can get like a recap on what you've been thinking this whole time.
You're asking a lot from me here. You've been going on for
we just want to catch up with you, okay? So
yes. Wow. There's just so much that I've seen eye to eye, and
do you think
other things that I have not.
Do you think it's an intentionally placed arc, and they're gonna give us some sort of payoff with Sonic's forgiveness?
I think, and this is kind of going outside the comics now. Even I'm not sure if this is how comics work. I'm not sure how everything's planned out and everything, and you can probably correct me here, but. Especially since the reception of issue 50 and the criticisms that people have, since I know at least IDW, artists and writers, I know they're around Twitter, I know they engage or at least keep an eye on the community. I think now, yes, maybe since all of this is happening, maybe yes, that they will tackle on all of this, because when have we talked about IDW as much? Never.
I mean,
never.
It's been a thing, like Lavaray was saying, it's been an issue for a while, so I'm truly confident that it's something that they hope to explore further, and I hope it fixes and irons out the issue with Robotnik or Eggman continuously coming back and Sonic showing him mercy, because I do think there is legitimate criticism in that. That is something that the Sonic story needs, as to why that particular individual can continue to come back, and why Sonic lets that happen. Up until now, there's been this like unspoken rule where they'll like not want to end each other, but they want to best each other. It's like a pride thing. And if that's the case, like, since they've already addressed it, like Lava Ray said, it's too late, right? Like, they've addressed it. That's a big issue too. Clearly they're going in that direction. So again, to be constructive and build with our feedback, we have to move forward with that direction. So, okay, they've already brought it up. They already are exploring Sonic's morality and forgiveness. So the best way I think they could address it is if it's like a pride thing or a rivalry thing. And maybe Sonic's friends criticize Sonic on it, and they make intentional decisions for their own safety. But in that way, Sonic doesn't have to change or anything. But the severity of Sonic's behavior can be not belittled.
Okay, so hold up. Here's the problem. Okay, so here's the thing. If it is possible, I would like to try to see if I can possibly schedule to come back like once this is all done. Maybe we can have like once like the whole Surge stuff is probably done, like 4 or 5 issues. I would like to try to come back if that would be possible. But I was kind of curious. I'm kind of trying to figure out. So now I do think the term around like how much Sega's like overly mandating stuff is way overapplied. Even Flynn has said as much. But I do think that there is some amount of restraint about how much drama and conflict and change that they can have for the other characters. So Sonic, who's probably the only game character that's gotten any amount of development, isn't allowed to change. Why would the other characters be allowed to change that? How would the other characters be allowed to change their dynamic interaction with Sonic in any way?
Well, they wouldn't necessarily be changing their character traits or anything, or learning anything. They would just kind of, like, for example, it might be an interesting. Tails has already expressed distaste with actions and decisions Sonic has made in the past. That's not anything completely out of character, because they're different characters. And so this would be no different. It would just be that Tails would make necessary precautions. Like, how cool would it be if, like, Tails made his own kind of like Metal Sonic, he called as something else, as a precaution for Sonic wanting him to be out there. So Tails can simultaneously agree with Sonic's decision of letting Metal Sonic roam free with de-weaponized, but he can also be logical and be like, well, him having that freedom means that he could come back and attack us. And so I'm going to preemptively build something that is literally designed to take out Metal Sonic for us. Sonic wouldn't do that. Sonic would trust his own abilities and be like, yeah, like, I can't wait to challenge myself again and go on the exciting adventure where I have to battle Metal Sonic with his new weapons. Like, that's what he's thinking about. I think if the other characters were more independent and took it more upon themselves and made more decisions for themselves, like Sonic does, it would lead them to self-preservation maneuvers like that. So Tails, being somebody who is more logical, would probably make more strides to protecting himself, which is still in character, and honestly is something I really hope to see him do, because it would make him seem really impressive and would be heroic in his own way, unique from Sonic. Like, while it's cool to see Tails fighting alongside Sonic and spin dashing and all that, there's also an element of his character that is distinct from Sonic that I think that they should continue, not warp or change, but use to evolve the story forward and let both the characters grow, but they can still be static. Doesn't necessarily changing anything, I think.
Okay, so actually, I want to ask one more question about this. So I have been following Flynn's work since pretty much like 2011. It's a fascination of mine. I'm pretty sure Flynn's writing has broken me in some way. But one of the main points I tend to get back after I end up criticizing him is that people more or less tend to give the "it'll get fixed" or "it'll get better later" argument. And and that's kind of what we're also trying to say here is that, like, yeah, this isn't great, but maybe the other characters might adjust and like actually try to compensate for it.
Well, no, the difference is that I think, like, I already focused on the part of the issue I don't like. I don't think the payoff for the fight was good, and I started with that, in fact. But everything else I do think was good, and so right. I'm not kind of saying this will get fixed or anything. I'm just saying that because of the repeated theme and the emphasis on Sonic's forgiveness and morality, because that's a point of criticism, and and it also lines up with what the story is clearly trying to teach. I think this is a unique situation where we might need to wait for the story to unfold to make a criticism, because it's clearly tied to the characters' bout, the rivalry. It's connected to them. A good comparison would be that while Sonic and Shadow had a bout of a similar topic, it clearly wasn't central to the narrative. This is a rivalry that's been built up over multiple issues, and this is the subject material, and this is what they're talking about when they fight. So this is something that's definitely going to come back, because Surge is not dead. We know Surge is alive, and Surge is going to talk about something very similar, but maybe new things that they've learned, and the conversation will definitely continue. So because we're focusing on what Sonic said and how he makes these decisions, and Surge clearly disagrees, and that decision is going, or that discussion is clearly going to continue, I would say that this is a unique situation where we should wait because we're criticizing this specific thing.
All right, so this is why I'm bringing this up. I guess my question would be is, when are we allowed? When do I think? So let's put it this way. So this is one of the reasons why I'm saying, like, I want to try coming back around once this stuff is wrapped up in about 4 or 5 issues. If this is ultimately concluded, and my guess is they're probably just going to have Surge just either drop it and move on, and we don't really address it, and not only do we either not address this or address the responsibility of Sonic with Sonic's inaction towards Surge, but also on top of that, we focus just more on her just going crazy and hurting people. And by the end of it, she just ends up just like going calm and moving on after what looks like an issue 53, probably at least going after a couple of his friends. Would it be fair to start criticizing and pointing out the problems with trying to do this with Sonic's character at that point?
Yeah, because clearly it was a story beat. It was a focus of Surge's character. Surge is like set up in so many ways to explore Sonic's morality in that way, and so that would literally be, but the focus wouldn't be Sonic's character or morality, because I still have the stance that Sonic is being consistent with his character here. I just think that if that was to be the case, right, where there's very little payoff, it would be similar to the issue I have with the payoff of this exchange here. Bad payoff. And it would be the same criticism. If Surge's story with Sonic ends as you described it, where Surge just kind of is belittled in their stance, and then they kind of succumb to Sonic's argument, and Sonic ends up being right, and then Surge just kind of like drops it and, you know, is a loner, but still kind of is always indifferent towards Sonic, but that's it. That's where they leave it. Then yeah, that would be incredibly lacking anything satisfying. But I'm telling you, the way writers conjure up something that feels satisfying to most people, of course it's subjective, is they do stuff like this. They add little interwoven consistent themes, and I'm telling you that I'm pretty sure that weave that they're trying to wove together here, that web they're trying to connect here, is the forgiveness theme from way back. And the longer something has kind of trailed from the beginning, or the longer this web has been connected from earlier stories, the more satisfying it is when you get that. And I can tell because you're really hoping that you're going to get that payoff, but you just don't expect it because you haven't gotten it yet. So really, this can go one or two ways. We're either going to get it or we're not going to. But the good news is you and I would both agree, right, if that payoff doesn't come. And we've focused on what the actual issue is we just want a story where things feel satisfying, where something feels earned, where a character actually has an impact on Sonic. While it may not change his mentality, it should inform decisions moving forward. It should remind him. Like, for example, the metal virus should still inform Sonic as he's moving through. And it seems like it is, because he does think about decisions he's made in the past, in the issues, as he moves forward. So I'm not seeing the point in that this is not a well-constructed story.
Well, Okay, the welcome. I haven't really broken down how much of a constructed story it is. I've really just been focusing on how awful this theme, how awful the theme and the characterization are. Story wise, I can't even really go that far because Imposter Syndrome, you could argue that this isn't a completely out of nowhere take for Surge to have. It wasn't really focusing on that. If anything, we seem to be focusing more on just like they just want to. At best, kind of like it was kind of all over the place with Imposter Syndrome, but that's a whole other topic I don't feel like getting into right now. When it comes to okay, so I will say, I'll go ahead and say it like this. So I don't have faith in Flynn being able to do anything properly with this because again, I remember the stuff like not just for the stuff that was going on with the Metal Sonic arc, Metal Virus arc, and the Metal Sonic arc, Metal Virus arc, and especially Starline. But honestly, a lot of stuff he was doing in Reboot really does kind of do this too. Like we end up trying to, like the whole idea about the reboot in Archie was that I was trying to do a recreation. It was trying to more or less do Unleashed, but a bit with more of with adding in the Archie characters and making sure all that stuff worked, and trying to incorporate there. The problem is that even though Chip is supposed to be like one of the major players there, they had no one of the major players for that in Unleashed. He is barely a background character in this, and by the time they get to the end of it, they have to Flynn has to pretty much rush to the end and pretend like he had like a huge depth of relationship with all the main characters, even though he's only really had like an on-screen conversation with Tails. I don't even think he really interacted with Sonic in that arc. Wait, what?
Oh, sorry. I'm just trying to stop my dog. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Oh, okay then. So when it comes, and that's just one of the several things that seemed like he would end up spending up trying to set up, but the payoff for it, one, not only usually using weird things to try to set it up, but the payoff for it usually isn't that great. And honestly, I can kind of stretch this here. Like you talk about the Sonic and Surge fight not being underwhelming. To be honest, I'd apply that to the Tails and Kid fight too. Now I knew that fight going in was going to be underwhelming because they have not shown Tails really being a fighter.
Well, yeah, neither of them are fighters. No, I knew from the beginning that was not going to be a fight. It was all about the Surge and Sonic because I knew they would both pursue the thrill. Like, knowing their personalities, you know they're gonna fight. Like, I think Kit and Tails, like, were set up as a battle to contrast how the characters are different. And so we're focusing specifically on Sonic's character, so I think we covered a lot of ground here. With how things are. Kevin Catastrophe donated another $5. Thank you so much. What I think I might do is wrap things up for now, just because it seems like my dog is freaking out, and we covered a lot of ground here, and I think I did really understand your side of things. Like, I want you to walk away from this Lava Ray not feeling like I didn't budge at all, because I've learned a lot of things that you have problems with. And I'm really hoping for the payoff for both of us. I know you had said that Ian Flynn doesn't typically deliver payoff in your opinion. I, of course, disagree. So we'll probably have to do a follow-up discussion on how things played out when all the chips are on the table. But until then, this was a nice little 4th of July IDW Sonic discussion. I'm excited to do more of these. Next time we'll have more people on, but I think just the flow of this conversation just went really good, so I just kind of wrote it till the end. The Deleter donated another $5 and says, in my opinion, Sonic's stance is admirable, trying to save everyone rather than just the majority while punishing the aggressors and loss. Inverse Deku, in fact. I don't exactly know if I have any stance on that in particular, but I think it's all about the payoff in the end, right? Sonic can be the greatest hero ever and make all the greatest decisions, but if the story isn't satisfying, then it's going to be boring, and I think that should be our priority. Comment Xing donates $10 and says, Sonic being selfish is fine, but Ian put him in a place to be questioned, and his answer makes him look naive, and he won't grow past that. It's better not to address it at all. The hope is that he will grow past it, but I agree with you in that It did make him look naive. I think that was intentional. I don't know if we agree on that, but I think it was intentional. I think we were looking at it from Surge's perspective, and we were seeing Sonic as somebody who was missing something, and there would be no need for Surge to exist or this clash to happen if there wasn't something for Sonic to learn from Surge. And you may say Sonic is very unlikely going to learn anything. I don't think his stance will change, but similar to how when Sonic and Knuckles met, or whenever they clashed in the past, there's always some sort of misunderstanding or some sort of missing piece of information. And I don't think it'll be a huge revelation for Sonic, but I do think there'll be a very important piece missing that Sonic will obtain through his exchange through Surge. And that I think is required for this arc to feel meaningful and satisfying. And I agree with a lot of people here. I think that's the problem, though. It's not Sonic's speech. There needs to be a payoff. And this problem has been brought up multiple times with Zavik, with Metal Sonic. And the hope is that the Surge story can be the one that makes it all make sense. Which is great, because honestly, I came into this thinking there was no problem at all. And I think a lot of people did come into this thinking there was no problem at all. And I still enjoyed issue 50. I'm not saying I didn't, but I think my stance is I like it. I like IDW Sonic in general. However, there has been a problem presented that I agree with, but I think it is possible for it to be fixed, and will retroactively fix the other issues before it because of it, because it feels like an intentionally woven theme. That's where I'll leave it. The conversation can continue on social media, though. Of course, you can follow me at Mardiculous and any of the other Tales Channel team members. Thank you so much, Daki, Toru, and Sin, for joining me. We didn't really hear from Sin, but it was nice to talk to all of you. I'm going to go stuff my face full of dinner. You guys keep enjoying Sonic, whatever version of Sonic you like, and have a great rest of your week. Peace.